Today we are going to be reviewing the Sunjoe SPX3000-MAX. Now we typically multiply the PSI by the gallons per minute to get our cleaning power. In this case it's a 3640. We bought this unit on Amazon. Actually we bought it in a Woot deal, so we got a really good price on it. We actually got this unit below $200. Now typically it's retailing, and what we've seen on Amazon and other places, that it's somewhere in the mid 200s depending on what promotion Sunjoe might be offering. So make sure you check around to get the best deal possible. One thing that's going to be interesting with this unit is that it does have the induction electric motor compared to the typical universal electric motor. So that is going to give you better longevity as well as more quiet operating. So when we take this out and compare it to some of our other electric pressure washers, we're definitely going to want to see if we can notice that when we look at it. Let's jump right in here and start unboxing it. Okay, we're back here, and I did just move that box off the table to get a little more space. And I also did confirm that this is a 35-foot cable, which is just the same as some of the other electric pressure washers that we've reviewed here. The Ryobi 2000 PSI, also the AR Blue Clean, both have 35-foot cables. This one is definitely as much heavier. The gauge appears to be, of the wire seems to be much thicker compared to some of the other pressure washers that we have. So we'll continue our unboxing here. Okay, one thing just to note here that was pretty straightforward. Compared to some of the other pressure washers that we've reviewed, this one is more or less fully assembled. The wheels are already on it. We're gonna have to put the handle on here in a second, but there definitely appears to be less assembly than some of the other units here. Okay, and I was looking because it appears that there are some screws required to assemble, and they are in here with the instructions. All right, back with you. I took a quick look at the instructions here. So this seems pretty straightforward. All we need to do is install the handle with 4 screws, and then a couple other pieces need to get installed. We're looking for a gun holder here, so that needs to get slid on over here. Okay. Then we're gonna put the handle on. Okay, we're still working on getting this handle installed. It's definitely a little tricky to do. I'm trying to kind of do it with you here so that you can see that it is. It does take a minute. There's a tab here on the handle here that is going to be fitting in here, and it appears that you want to slide that in, and then there's some screw holes here that should line up. Problem I'm having is that I can get it started, but actually getting it to move all the way into position so that I can then attach it doesn't seem to be very easy. So I need to, it appears, get this to move back another inch or so. Just working with it here. Okay, there we go. Not sure why that was as difficult as it was, but with a little bit of that seemed to help guide it in, moving it in that position. And we have 4 larger screws here that we're going to use to install the handle. Now, okay, so instructions said to go ahead and attach this here. It's the soap dispenser, and you do have these 2 different soap dispensers. Now, turn this around, we've got a little bit more to go here. Screw, and this is where you can then put the tip of the nozzle tip, or the extension wand tip, down in the in there to protect it. So that is pretty much it. We've got the gun here. And that's going to go there and touch there. Okay. Looks like we got a spot for our hose here. And our extension cord can get placed on this side over here. 5 tips. We've got our soap dispenser. Let's turn this around, see what we've got in the back here in terms of spots to put things. Yep, got some spots for tips here, so we can put our soap dispenser there. Clicks in there. We've got a 0 degree. We'll put it on the other side. There we go. And we've got our 25 degree, 15 degree, and 40 degree. So we'll just do them right in order. This will be our 15 degree. And they are labeled here on the top. You can still see that barely when it's posted in. There we go. Okay. So, like I said, first impressions, this is a pretty heavy unit. It did come fully assembled. Just a couple things to note. You know, it is made of all plastic, whereas some of the other units we've looked at have either a metal frame around them or the handles are metal. So this is, substantially plastic, the entire unit. It does have 2 soap tanks. It's got the ability here to select which tank it's pulling out. So you've got no soap in the middle, and then there's a minus and a plus sign to pull out of this one, and the same thing over on this one. Okay. And I can, again, just kind of tell, and this is something we've talked about in the past, it's definitely a little bit more difficult to maneuver. It's the stance of it is definitely more likely to kind of tip over since it is so upright. It doesn't have the hose reel, which we find has even made things a little bit harder to keep the center of gravity lower. But both some of the other electric pressure washers, specifically the Air Blue Clean and the Ryobi that we've been reviewing on the website, have a much lower center of gravity. Now we're going to take this outside and run it through some tests in terms of its usability, and also just get a better sense of, as we move it around a spot where we're trying to clean, just to see how it compares from a maneuverability and stability standpoint. This one weighs 39.9 pounds, and as I mentioned before, it definitely is very heavy. It definitely shows here compared to some of the other pressure washers in this price point that are significantly lighter. Okay, here we go with the Sunjoe SPX3000-MAX. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. Now immediately, the motor is significantly quieter. This is the induction motor, so let's take a look at some of the cleaning power here. Actually, once the motor starts up, it's not necessarily quieter. That initial session was a little quieter. I'm going to move this out of the way so we can actually see some of the cleaning power here again on these pretty caked in stones. Take a look at this. Overall, pretty good. It did clean a little bit of that. That's a really difficult stain. I'm going to move it up a little, move the camera up a tiny bit, and we'll take a look at this other one that's a little darker, just see what this does in terms of cleaning here. Again, we're using a 15 degree tip. I might change that out in a second, but we're going, essentially from the beginning of spring here, a kind of beat up patio here with some, some older stones. So we'll go ahead and see what we can. There is able to get that cleaned up, but you can tell that again that's going to take a really long time. Let's try one of our other tips here. We'll try maybe the 25 degree. That's going to have less cleaning power. Just kind of curious to see how this goes. So again, pretty good cleaning power. That tip actually seems to be working pretty well now. Sometimes we already put a little water down, so it's possible that just coming back might have made a small difference. Swap it back out again and try the other tip. I think anything more than a 15 degree is going to be overkill and potentially risk. If I were to hit some grout line there, it would probably damage it. So let's just try this 15 degree again. I'd say that the 25 degree was our best bet. Just gave us a bigger cleaning area. but both of them are taking off that stain. So, you know, overall, I'd say the pressure and the cleaning power of the Sunjoe, I'll move this over a little bit and get the camera back on the unit itself. But I'd say that overall, the cleaning power of the Sunjoe is pretty good. You know, this is a bigger unit. We talked about this before when we were unboxing it. It's more upright. It's a little bit, actually it feels fairly stable. It's pretty heavy. It's a definitely heavy unit. It's got that induction motor, which is going to be a little bit heavier. And overall, it's a pretty nice looking unit. More plastic than what we're seeing on some of the other brands, but very sturdy. So I think that is probably fine. I also like that, you know, unlike what we were looking at with the Ryobi, you do have the ability here to store your unit without taking the entire thing apart. So I can store my gun and my wand right there, which is pretty nice. And we have 2 soap dispensers. Haven't tried those out yet. And we do have at least a place to hang our cord. We don't have an easy way to necessarily wrap it around there, but we do have a place to hang our cord, unlike the Ryobi where we had to kind of put it on top. And then on the back, there is also a place where, on the front here, we have a place where we can hang our hose. So I'm gonna stop the video and actually get it ready to put away and see what you think. All right, a couple final observations here just in terms of the ability to put this away. Like I said, it's definitely probably of the 3 we've tested today, a little bit, you know, once you get it moving, it feels good, but doesn't quite just spring to action in terms of making it easy to move around like you have with the, I think it just feels like it has a higher center of gravity. The other 2 really had a very low center of gravity, so once you move the handle, it immediately kicked up and was easy to maneuver. I think you really would need to sort of intentionally stay a little lower with this one to get the same level of maneuverability. Another thing on this side here is that, you know, and I'm sure that there are people who would never accept that, but that was the roll it up and hang the cord job. So it's a little messy. You could probably do a better job than I did here, but that's, you know, realistically, it does not have a full, you know, ability for you to wind the cord around 2 sides like we saw with the AR Blue Clean, which makes it a lot easier to keep things looking nice and neat. This is simply, you kind of wrap it up and hang it on this hook. Now the hook is deep enough, this hook here is deep enough to really get the entire thing. So I'm not worried that this is gonna come out. And I'm sure that, again, if I spent more time going through and trying to really get the cord wound better, that it would lay a little flatter. But I think that's always gonna be a little bit of a struggle. The hose holder here in the front is perfectly fine. Really pretty easy to get the hose on this, and that again looks like it's not going to be any trouble. And I really like the gun and wand, again, are really pretty well attached here, and you've got a nice protector at the bottom. So overall, this is a really nice unit. It cleaned things pretty well. We're going to do some more extensive testing on the actual performance, GPM, and PSI. But you know, overall, just taking it out and working on a deck here, it did work pretty well.